Hello and welcome to the Spotlight. This spotlight features a young woman, younger than me, who's very well known to me. Um, though not exactly following in the footsteps of her older sister, who is a writer, she was able to uh, capture her life on the printed page or down on paper. With God given guidance and talent, she has completed and published Beauty. Oh, right there. Beauty Beyond the Skies. For me, it is, or parts of it is a walk down memory lane. For you, I hope that is a content of faith and hope, an example that you too can reach out for your dreams of life and love. Here's Zelda D. Johnson and her beauty beyond the scars. One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spotlight. This Spotlight focuses again on someone I know personally. Those of you that have followed me, my writings, Pastor and Jackie and Key's writings with Belinda Lane, this is the youngest of our group. This is Zelda D. Johnson. How are you, Zelda?
I'm doing fine. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So,
Wonderful.
we're here because you just released your book, Beauty Beyond the Scars. And we're going to talk about this a little bit, but and I got my copy just in time. So I went through that. And even though you'll be talking about the book, we're going to be talking about you and family. So
Okay.
um first of all, how are you?
Good. I'm
Good, good.
very glad to be here. Thank
That
you.
that is good. Um so let's dive in. Beauty Beyond the Scars. That's a title. So can you tell me about that title?
Wow. Well, first of all, again, thank you for having me on your spotlight here. And just to talk about, I'm very excited. First of all, I'm gonna let everybody know I'm very excited. I got my copy too. So, but just to give you a little background on Beauty Beyond the Scars, it's actually Beauty Beyond the Scars, a second chance at life, a second chance at love.
Okay.
And the title actually, I speak about it in the book, originated because back in 2017, just briefly, had something that happened to me that really kind of changed my world. And with that, it caused me to have surgery, and we'll probably get more into that. But it left a lot of scars, physical scars, mental scars, and if anyone knows me, I'm a cosmetologist by trade, but I also am an decorator by trade as well. I love design. I love beautiful things. So it's always been, I guess you would say, a interest for me on beautiful things. It can be a sunset, it can be a sunrise, it can be whatever. So, and I consider people, far as beautiful things. I love to wear, dress, whatever the case may be. So when this took place and what we're going to get into, um, it was one day. The actual title of my book came from my husband,
Hmm.
and with my husband, we were getting ready to go somewhere, an event or something, and we happened to be getting ready. And if you see my body, even just here, I have several scars, physical scars. And us as women, we're looking like, wow, man. And I'm thinking, look at all these scars. And because of I had been through a life-threatening, episode, my husband looked and he said, you know what, babe, I'm not worried about your scars. I'm just glad you're here. And it hit me that day, when I was thinking, I love beautiful things, but beyond all of that, these scars are here. They're not going anywhere. So I say I wear them as my badge of honor. So yes, beauty beyond the scars. And it helped me to even dive into more of life and how we all have, whether, again, like I said before, physical scars or either emotional scars, all types. So that's where the title actually came from.
Okay, so I didn't know it came from Adrian.
Yes.
And it's really weird because we spent most of our young lives together. Um,
Yes.
um, I became adopted into the family
Hey, my
first by
second big
living next
brother.
door.
My second big brother, man. Come on.
And but that's one thing I never knew about, which was I guess the things that happened to you in school and boyfriends and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
me and Donnell were doing our things, and we probably
Sure.
wasn't worried
Sure.
too much. As long as nobody put their hands on you, we were good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so I'm going to go into one of my next questions that I came. I actually received the book. I think it was yesterday,
Yeah.
and I wanted to look through it and get a feel for it.
Hmm.
Um, on one of your medical episodes, I you happened to be near Baltimore, and
Hmm.
you went into a Baltimore hospital.
Sure.
At which time, of course, the family got in touch with me,
Yeah.
and I came to the hospital.
Yes. Yes.
So, so we're gonna go back to the medical portion.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you something that came as a result of me looking at the book.
Hmm.
Um, looking at the book, and it was very well laid out. Me and Belinda have been doing things with her book and her second one to come up. But your book seems to walk the reader through a journey of your life. Um,
Hmm.
what would you say is the inspiration for the book itself?
Well, again, I have to give a lot of people credit, and if you, as you go through the book, you will see where I talk. It's like you would thought I was writing a novel because I was trying to include everyone that, or a lot of people in my circle that has been a part of my journey. And actually, the inspiration for the book came from a friend of mine, very close friend in Atlanta, Georgia. I lived there actually for quite some time, about 17 years. And when she would, after she heard my story of what I had went through physically as well, she was the one that encouraged me, Michelle Ellis Williams now. She encouraged me to start documenting it, writing it down. She's like, Zelda, you've been through some things and you need to start writing this down because I see in the future, see you telling your story. So with that, I did have a chance to do a collaboration. Never have written anything before in my life. The only thing, real quick, the only story I have of is when my father passed away in 2013, and it was just my sisters, Diana and Belinda, and I getting that together and everything. You know what goes through that. Belinda was so busy because you mentioned Belinda, my sister Belinda Lane. She was so busy with everything, that she is what we consider or who we consider the writer of the family. So with that being said, she was like, well, you know how on the back of the program, she's like, I need someone to write something that, to thank people, to do whatever. And I was like, oh, I'll do it. I was like, okay, where did that come from? I was like, oh, I'll do it. So I wrote something, for my father in the back of his program. And after I wrote it, I gave it to her and everything. She was like, wow, Zelda, this is pretty good, And I'm like, okay, I didn't think anything of it.
Right,
Until after everything happened with me, fast forward, and my girlfriend was like, you need to do this. So I actually collaborated with another group of writers, first time writers, a couple, former authors back in 2020 during the pandemic with a book, another book. I just wrote a little chapter, kind of like getting my feet wet. Yeah, there we go. That's it. And that was called Life Interrupted. And it dealt with, how God has been in the midst of everything, your health, your business. So I wrote my first little chapter there, surviving your second quarantine. And so I was like, okay, I'm getting it. But all the while, I'm still in the back of my mind, it's like, Zelda, you got to do your story. You
right.
got to do, tell. So I collaborated with a publisher, and again, another friend recommended, and she just said, Zelda, I don't need you to worry about grammar or sentences. What I just need you to write from your heart, write from your story, and I'm telling you, it just evolved And so my inspiration again came from my friend to even think about, because I tell you, I never thought about writing anything like that. And so that's pretty much where the inspiration came, and I began to write, and here we are today.
And it and like I said, I I became I was going to do I call it drop kicking, like just look at little things, but I became engrossed in the family portion.
Mhm.
I read all of that last night.
Okay.
And again, just getting the copy yesterday, and though I was a big reader when I was young, I I
Lord.
I tend to go toward the audiobooks now.
Yes, yes.
But for me, reading the family portion, it took me back
Yeah.
because I relived my younger years with you guys. Um, so I found that really good. So
Hmm.
I shared it with my wife this morning. I usually like to share some things with her, and she comes up with some interesting questions. The one thing about her, she deals more on an emotional level,
Hmm.
not even knowing now that because you've met her, so
Yes,
we've been
yes.
in your home. Um, but she likes emotional and family things.
Yeah.
So one chapter stuck out to her immediately was
Mhm.
Siblings 101. You have a
Oh,
chapter called Siblings 101, My Guardian Angels.
yes.
Um, and like I say, this is a walk through your life. So uh, give us a little insight into Siblings 101, My Guardian Angels.
Right. Okay. Again, right? First of all, I'm the youngest of four. I have two older sisters, Diana and Belinda, which are like 12 and 13 years older than me. I'm the baby of the family. Then there was my brother, Donnell, who passed away back in 2009. And so by being the youngest, and if anybody know about the youngest, right? They say the youngest is some, the baby something else, right?
And it
But
was
I
that way
always
with you. So
had,
I'll tell everybody that was that way with you.
yes, yes. But the thing is, well, one thing about that, and I said my guardian angels because just having the time to, you tell people you love them and the birthdays, and there's differences in everyone, but having to really kind of, just focus in on them individually and what they've meant to me during my journey. And I think a lot of times we don't take enough time to do that for each other as siblings sometimes, because you got the sibling rivalries, you got this, all kinds of things. I remember recall someone talking to someone, they were like, well, I haven't talked to my sister or brother in years or things like that. And that was just not our thing. For one thing, my mom especially, she won't having that.
Right,
And
right.
we never, one thing I love about us, we never got in any great altercations with one another. We laughed a lot. I talk about that in the book too. We laughed a lot, and we agreed to disagree. So with that, I was able to just kind of focus in on them, like I said, each individually, because I really look back now. At the time, of course, you don't think, oh, they're my angels, but to know how each of them in their own way looked out for me, protected me, just was there for me and different stages of my life. Like my oldest sister, Belinda, she left when she was 18 years old or whatever. But she didn't leave me. She didn't leave the family. Meaning that I write about it in the book as well. I loved being with her. She would come get me and take me places, and I would just have a ball, just being with her. My sister Diana, her and I was left together, because she was gone. So I had this big sister all to myself and was engaged in so much with her. Man, I talk about that and how she helped me through when I was, a single parent, pregnant, a teenager. She helped me through that. And then my brother. Okay, my brother. Lord have mercy. In the book, I say my ride or die, right? he always looked out for me and was always there for me. And anytime I really needed him, even when I moved away myself, my young teenage, and I've been gone away from Maryland for like over 30 some years, but we still, all of us stayed really connected. And I always felt, that they had my back, regardless, and vice versa. Love them. So that's just the bond that we had and the bond that I still have with my sisters, that we're there for each other, and I'm thankful for it.
And that's a good thing. One of our spotlights was on one of our well, a couple of the members are a couple of people in that spotlight uh were our members of VLF. Mother Coates, who is the grandmother, she just moved recently to Texas, and
Mhm.
I think there is a thirst for that because they are families that aren't that close. Now,
Sure.
my biological brother Bruce, because
Mhm.
my family lineage from Lanes to Brinkley's to Spencers and beyond
Okay.
is broad. But my biological brother, he's just not that hands-on sort
Hmm.
of person.
Sure.
Um, but the love is there. But
Sure. Sure.
as we were coming up, I always knew and felt that love between you guys,
Yes.
and you guys dragged me in from time to time until we all got older, and we
Yes.
started to drift off in our own ways. But we really never, even though I didn't talk to you on a regular basis, Donnell
Mhm.
kept me in touch with everybody into his passing, which
Yeah.
bothered me just as much as it
I
bothered you
know.
guys.
Yeah.
um so um again, hearing that closeness, even through the miles, because right now you're the furthest north. Diana's here in Baltimore, and
Mhm.
Belinda's down in South, but I know you guys keep in touch with each other. Um,
Mhm.
so let's deal with that a little bit. So siblings 101, we talked about your guardian angels.
Yes.
Um, let's talk about Bishop and Mama.
Mhm.
So let's go this one. How was it being the youngest child of what you phrased in the book as a career pastor? How was it to be? It's one thing to be the child of a preacher. We
Yeah.
always said that they either had to be very prim and proper or they had to be wild,
Yeah.
and they rebelled.
I know.
So,
We got a bad
how
rap.
was it for you to be the child of like I say, what you called a career pastor?
Yeah, career. Look, I'm going to say, you know us, right? I call us the PKs. Well, we got a bad rap, sometimes. But as I write again in the book, hey, we were all just human, trying to make it through life like everybody else. You know what I mean? So being a career pastor for me, and I'm gonna say I came in, I believe, because I was the baby, I came in on the back end of that, like, because prior to me being here, um like I said, 12 and 13 years between Diana and Belinda, and then Donnell and I were 5 years in between. So I came in on the back end, and they had already had relocated because my dad was in an organization that known for, like, sending ministers out to different states and starting churches other places. And so I was kind of like, on the back end, but Belinda, I hear stories a lot of times of when they lived in Virginia, North Carolina, New Orleans, and then they ended up here in Baltimore, So when I came into the picture, I traveled a lot with him to other places. And I kind of, like you say, I kind of laugh at it because, okay, being a preacher's kid, and you seeing other dads and they're going off to work and, corporate, blue collar, whatever, doing whatever type of work. And even though my dad did work in those like different industries, and I'll talk about that too, in the hospital and Philip Morris and places like that, I wasn't born at the time to see. So that's why I kind of call him the career pastor, because all I knew him as was a preacher.
Hmm.
I never saw him go to another job or
Right.
whatever. Now, my mom, on the other hand,
Yeah.
she did go because of her, just working and her skills and, until unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, but also fortunately, she was forced out of working what we would consider a regular job and became the quote unquote entrepreneur,
Right.
herself before, which turned out to be pretty good for her in that aspect. But just knowing with my dad, it was just like, wow, it's like just traveling to different churches, like I said before, and going with him and just having that experience. It's just, hey, half the time I loved it because I would go and places I had never been before. I mean, look, I was eating good, and because you can always go eat when you go. I always go eat. We used to go to New Jersey,
Right.
Connecticut, and so we, it became, and I want to just add this point too, being that in the time, of course, sometime, and I look back and think about it, being the child, being the youngest, especially when you get to those teenage years, when you're a little younger, you just kind of go with the flow. You get to those teenage years, you're like, oh man, well, why I gotta go to church again? Why we got a revival? I gotta go to school tomorrow. I think about all of that. All of that is coupled into what he did and who he was. And because I was his child, I was a part of that. Whether
That
he say so or not, Now
exactly.
today, I'm very thankful for it. I feel as though it definitely was in this stage of my life, I see it that being a blessing that I did, and you know, just in lieu of everything, I'm very thankful for that. And I say everybody has a story, and I'm sure they have one too that I don't even know about. My
Right.
mom and dad. So I'm very appreciative of that.
Right. And we're going to circle back around to Mama shortly, but a
Right.
little bit later in this. And this is what I tell people now, because the church I go to now, we call it an hour of power, but we're usually there. Service starts around 9 earnestly, and we get out of there by 10:30. But it was when we were young. If we got out of
Mm.
church at 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, that was early.
Oh,
We had revivals all over the place. We were
oh
in
my gosh, yes.
Connecticut, we were
Oh
in
my
South
Oh, no,
Boston,
no, no.
Princeton,
No,
Virginia.
wait, let me just give you one little schedule. Just one schedule. And
Right,
this
go
is
ahead.
no joke that happened. We're gonna go to Sunday school,
Yep,
we're gonna have morning service, we're gonna break for lunch, not even dinner, break, come back, have afternoon service, break, have some dinner, come back for night service. This is all in one Sunday.
it's all in one Sunday.
So
It's
I'm
all in
with
one
you.
Sunday.
Same here. The church and I said now, hour 15 minutes. God, So, but
They
anyway,
don't know the
yeah,
struggle that we had. They do
yes,
not know the
yes,
struggle that we had. And
yes,
but it was all good.
it was.
It
Yeah,
was it
again,
was you guys and Bishop primarily that started me on my faith walk or
yeah,
my walk with God.
sure.
Um, and you're right in the travel because when we were young, we traveled with him, and then when Donnell and I
Mhm.
got older, we were the drivers.
The drivers,
You know,
right, right.
you know,
He
we
had his
drove
own
him
personal
everywhere.
drivers.
Um, and then one day we won't do it here, but we'll go back to his being called the chapter and verse,
Oh yeah.
and him coming up with sermons that would anger people with the
Oh
titles, and then
yeah, yeah, yeah,
once he brought it home that it was something else. But
yeah, yes.
I've seen something that God hasn't seen.
Yes,
That
we got
thing's
that in the
awesome.
book. So yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
So we've gone down through a lot of this, but um like I say, this is a walk through your life, and
Sure.
though it seems like we deviated away from the book, we really didn't, because
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
that is the gist of the material
Mhm.
as it rolls back to you. But there have been losses in your life.
Mhm.
Um so not so much for the book, but maybe is for the book. Have those losses changed you in any kind of way?
Yeah, I would, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, I would say, of course, any type of loss, especially if you deem yourself of having a close-knit relationship with people. And I can recall even being a teenager thinking, for one thing about it, we all know that, and as the Bible speaks, there's a time for us to live and a time for us to die. And I used to always think about it, but then you know how you have some things in your mind and it's like, I don't want to think about it, I don't want to think about it. But like, who would be like the first person to pass in my family or no longer there? And I remember it even goes back to, I want to say 1999, when we lost my brother-in-law, Clarence, and Diana. That was one of the losses other than prior to that, of course, my grandparents, which for me, it was something great about my grandparents because both sets of my grandparents lived to be in their 90s, like 94, 96. So, growing up, you're thinking, everybody gonna live to be that. You know what I mean?
Right,
And
right,
so,
right,
so when that happened, even with Clarence, and I want to say Clarence was like 60s. He was in his 60s, let's say that, and he was just someone to like another, he was my other brother from marriage. And when he passed, that one I think really hit me for the first time to know that wow, this is real, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna lose people, and then from that just not really knowing. And then of course my grandmother Gigi, she passed away, but it kind of struck me really, I would say a little hard when my mom did because she ended up um, dying right soon after my grandmother. And my mom was 80 and it just, but to me, it almost came like out of nowhere. You know what I'm
right,
saying? It was like she died of a, after having a heat stroke and aneurysm. And I was like, what? you know?
right,
And I was like, wait a minute, we just buried grandma, Gigi, and that just, woo, that one, I would say out of everyone, honestly, and not to take anything away from my dad, because I was a loss when I was glad to be here because I moved back to the area when my dad was still living and I was able to be here with him.
right.
But when I lost my mom and I lost Darnell, those two just kind of shook me there for a minute. And but again, just thankful to God to have the sisters and the family that I have and people around me. I've been very, 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 very fortunate and blessed to have good people around me like throughout my life growing up. And so yeah, but loss is something, shoot, I used to find myself even now walking around. I remember when I first moved back to, I'm sorry to get back with Darnell, because one thing you read in my book too, I said, I'm never coming back to Baltimore. You know,
Yeah,
going back to Baltimore and end up back in Baltimore.
right,
But I was upset to the fact because when he was living, I would come visit and he would take me, go get my snowball, we go get some crabs, things like all the
right,
good
right.
stuff, right? And then when I came back and he wasn't here, I literally would cry, drive around the city and I would cry and say, I don't believe you left me. I just don't believe you left me. I'm here now. Someplace I said I wasn't coming back and you're not even here.
Right.
So I do feel that, and I feel the loss at times. I walk around my house sometimes talking to my mom, like, Mom, come on, where you? I wish I could. My husband and I were big documentary and history buffs, and matter of fact, he's upstairs watching some history buffs, right? It's Black History Month, right? So we watching some things now,
Okay.
and I always think back to, boy, I really wish I could talk to my parents now to really know what it was they went through during those periods of time, versus me, just wondering. And of course, I have my sister Belinda. She's a good I'm calling my encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes down to history for the
Right,
family,
right, right,
But again, the loss it's something I believe you probably never get over because it is a loss, especially having someone so, I would say, good in your life and just so meaningful and so instrumental in who you are and who I've become. I do miss them a lot. So the losses do, definitely play a part in my life right now.
okay, okay. All right. So, And we're almost done.
Sure.
Um, but as you said, Belinda is the writer in the family. Um, though she tries to get everybody else to believe they're writers. Um, but having, read Belinda's stuff, done a lot of editing for
Hmm.
her, and we're
Hmm.
we're working on book two. But the family has always had a knack of having talent, I guess, from mama on down.
Hmm.
You know, self-teaching herself to play the piano and such.
Yes, yes.
But so when it comes to writing, now you're just getting into that field, that mode of writing. Um, do you have a role model as far as your writing? I mean, is it too early, or have you been concentrating on just your writing and not paying attention to other writers?
Well, yeah, I guess I could say yes and no. I guess, like you said earlier, we're in the age of, like I said, I don't read as much as I used to read because we have so much audio now. But there are a lot of different people that I love listening to, and they do have books out, and occasionally I do, like, of course, Belinda, of course, and it's so funny. I just had this conversation with my daughter, Erica, my youngest daughter. Well, youngest, she'll be 34. She's 33 now.
Right.
But we were talking about that just in fact. She's actually in Atlanta with Belinda now, and Belinda has a reading, and I told her about how Belinda was the one that had me reading when I, started me back to reading. Because a lot of times, you know how we are. We leave high school, we leave college. It's like, if I don't have to see another book, you know, from
Exactly.
all the studying and homework and all that, a lot of people stop reading, and reading is such a great avenue for the imagination, creativity, just all of that. So Belinda was the first one. And we talked about this the other day. Susan Taylor of Essence Magazine.
Okay.
Belinda, I'll never forget, she gave me a book called In the Spirit that I read. And honestly, looking back on it now, I say it kind of changed my life. Just reading her story and reading about her, and from that point on, I was really reading a lot. So I've also been over the years involved with, some network marketing companies that I got a lot of good reads, and motivational, Les Brown. I'm into Myron Golden. It's just, so they all have books and things. So they've inspired me a lot. But now, as far as the writing, again, like I said, that just kind of, I don't want to say just dropped out of heaven, but it just kind of came, and I told God, even after all I went through, and that got me to this point, in these last, I would say 7 years, really, I was like, whatever you want me to do, Lord, I'm like, I want to do, that's all right. If you can use anything, Lord, use me. So
Right.
I say I wanted to use this, and if writing was a part of that, then I wanted to be able to use that in order, and really just been inspired by God.
Okay.
You
So
know?
really quick, you touched on something that I've been touching with whoever writes, because as you start out, no matter what is out there, you have to start with the written material.
Sure.
So, um, Beauty has just dropped. Are you thinking of doing anything audio with it? And I have a reason for asking, but are you thinking of doing anything audio with it?
Well, you know what? I'm very open to this. And another thing I believe in too is my girls and I, we normally try to have a conversation between, the beginning of each year or whatever, and we talked about that, and we just talked about my daughter Crystal. We talked about how, she was just share with me like, Mom, I'm coming into this year, no resolutions, no anything like that, but with a clean slate, a clean canvas. And
Okay.
I guess I'm at that point where I have a clean canvas, a slate of and what it is, whatever God wants me to do and serve in that way. So I myself, my publisher, I think, look, give a shout out to Teresa Hamilton
Okay.
of Imagination Publishing Company as well.
Good.
She encourages me a lot, like Zelda, you need to be doing more of this. And so, to be honest, other books are coming to me, things I would like to write about. I also do see something in the audio film, because like we said earlier, let's say even with YouTube and social media, more audio is happening now, and that's kind of the way the world is going, that I would like to be a part of that, and just to get the word out and just to get more people to listen, that may not take time to sit down and open a book and read it. So I'm very much open to that as well.
Okay, so this after it's put together, it's actually going to be released on YouTube on our VLF Nation
Wonderful, wonderful.
site. But the reason I told you I had a reason for asking is that another playlist that we have on VLF Nation, I've renamed Showcase. And on Showcase right now, we have two readings by Belinda.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I am
okay,
going to ask you to think about that. I want you
okay,
to go through beauty, pick something that you wouldn't mind reading and do an audio version of it. It doesn't have to be video. You do an
okay,
audio version of it and I'll get it and I'll massage it out and put some music behind it and some visuals or just a book. But I'd like to in order to bring content to VLF Nation, of course, but I want to get out what um, you could do audio to get somebody interested in the book. Uh,
sure, okay,
and
okay,
I will later in this once I've done the pre-production, I will put out there how they can get a copy of the book and how they can get in touch with you if they need you for a speaking engagement or just pick
okay,
your mind or something like that. So that's
sure.
why I'm doing that. So you have mentioned all of that. So um, like I said, we're bringing it home. Do you have the beauty beyond the scars?
Hmm.
Um, do you want to share some of your scars, your medical, which has
Hmm. Hmm.
kind of been,
Sure.
even though Adrian came up with the book and I love him for taking care of you because that man loves you. I didn't know him when he was small, but that man loves you.
Yes.
And we will move through life and then we will find that person that we our life partner later, but
Yeah.
and he is that for you. But would
Yeah.
you like to share as we wind down the scars?
Sure. And probably what I'll do, if you don't mind, I want to, since we are winding down, I'll connect the two a little bit, the scars part and the second chance at life, the second chance at love part, maybe
Good,
kind of
good,
a little
good.
bit. So the scars part, of course, starts off with and not to drag it all out because I want you to get the book
Yeah.
to see, to read it, and
Right,
everyone
and that's
to
why I was
read.
trying not to give too
Yeah,
much
yeah, not
away,
gonna give
but
up. But just to say, um, like I said, 2017 was a year that just kind of was a great year starting out because as people will read, I reconnected with Adrian after over 30 some years on in um what was it? Cold by I guess it was 2010 or something like that. I think it was back then. But we reconnected, we got married um on in 20 January 1st, 2017. And then 10 months into that is when I had my heart challenge. And I was actually rushed to the hospital and had to have open heart surgery 5.5 hours later. And it was a 7 hour, 7.5 hour surgery. So from that on up until this point, a lot of surgeries and six to be exact. And it was just like something that kind of really rocked both of our worlds, shocked us like, oh my God, I'm here. And I recall my husband saying, he came home from the hospital and kind of fell on his knees. It was like, no, God. He's like, I just got her back. You can't take her, like what is going on?
right,
But from that, the scars, but that's just the whole gist of us going through that process. And then also just, reconnecting, getting married, but the love that, like you said, and thank you for saying that, the love that he has shown towards me and us, each other, we just know that, it really was meant to be. A lot of people say that, and even in my book, I say some people may not even understand that because of we both were previous married before, and all of that. But I don't have that answer for anyone all I can say is, but God, that God, he orders our steps, you know what I mean? So, with that, the whole scar part was, like I said, something that I didn't see coming or know when I've been, doing well. But when I went in to rush to the hospital, my blood pressure was like 200 and something over 107. It was crazy, and, from that, where I keep saying this, from that
Right.
comes this,
Right.
because it's like everything that it changed that day, you know what I mean? And granted, we were doing fine and getting back reacquainted, but I think this have brought us so much even closer together, and I thank God for that because a lot of stories you hear, it separates people. It just, some people wash their hands. I remember one of my nephews, Eric, he told me one time, he's like, man, on Zelda, I tell you, I really commend Uncle Adrian because a lot of men, he said, I don't know if I could have done it. He said a lot of men would be ready to run, and go. It's a lot. It was a lot, but I'm thankful, so thankful for him and just so thankful for what God has done with us. So I'm hoping really that our story will help and encourage others, whether you're a couple, whether you're single, because what I say in the book, everybody goes through trauma,
Right.
like I say, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, financial, everybody goes through some type of trauma. This is just my story, that a piece of it that I wanted to share that, hey, I used to say, if like the old folks used to say, if God did it for me, he can do it for you.
Right. So, and like I say, we don't want to give too much of the book away.
I know.
And I want people to like, for me, and I don't want to be biased because to me
Oh,
it's
go ahead, go ahead.
I, I I know the young lady you are,
Mhm,
were the young lady you were, and I know the young lady you are.
mhm,
Um, and we have, like I say, we've always been family.
mhm,
But we move on, we do our things in life, and I'm certainly glad that you're not that far away from here. I'm
mhm.
glad that we're on this format, reconnecting. I'm constantly talking, well, less now, but we're gonna kick it up a notch with Belinda
Yeah.
because there's some things that we're going to do together, and
And
it,
can I
it,
say
it
one thing? I'm sorry, just to
sure.
on that note. And I just want to, I don't know this part of it. I want to thank you just in general because even when okay, now I'm getting emotional.
Don't
Okay.
don't
I'm not
be.
supposed to do that. When I was in the hospital, you were there every time I look up, you were there. It was like you would hear about it, and I look up and you coming through the door. And for me, because tell another friend of mine too that I added to the book because he was really close to Donnell. He wrote a chapter in his book he wrote a book, wrote a chapter about Donnell
Right,
in his book and the effect that he had on him. And because of the fact that you and Donnell were so close, to me, it was like him walking through the door too. You know what I mean?
right.
I felt that. And I just wanted to say, and I'm probably, I don't know if I've ever told you, but thank you for doing that because it was very meaningful. When you laugh and I felt a sense of like, yeah, my brother, my brother,
Right,
which you are my brother,
right.
came in and checking on me. You know what I mean? So I just want to add that.
Well, I mean, that's what family does.
Yeah.
Um, but I will admit here because we talked more about your health and making sure that you were okay. But of course I would have been there because
Sure.
I am your brother, but I had to be there for him as well
Sure. I get
because
it.
he
Hmm.
was, biologically he was the only boy, and he was always the protector,
And, yes.
and
He
what you
playing by
said
the sisters there.
exactly, and what you said about it hitting you, um, when I got, and I don't even remember who gave me the phone call. Um, I don't even remember.
Hmm.
I've been trying to think back, but
Maybe Diana, may have been Diana, may have been.
it may have.
Or Tara, I don't know. You and Tara shoot the bowl together, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, Terrence, and it was really weird, and we'll get back into the Terrence walked up, and I think you're my uncle. you know, because I
Yes,
hadn't
yes.
seen him in such a long time.
Right,
But
right.
I remember it was a female, and it
Oh,
was
okay.
probably Diana, and it hit me hard because me and him used to just stay joined in some kind of way when he worked for BG&E. He
Yeah.
the facility down in Cherry Hill. I used to go
Okay.
down, and I wasn't supposed to be there, but I would walk with him all night long.
Right, right.
But that's where I was supposed to be, and that's
Yeah,
where I was
thank
supposed
you.
to be. And
Appreciate that.
yeah, so yeah, so both of us don't get into tears and stuff.
No.
But I'm glad you agreed to do this. I'm glad to like I say, I know how the life that you and Adrian are doing and some of the decisions that you guys have had to make. And it's great to see you have decisions like that to make, about where you're going to live and who is going to be employed. I'm your house is beautiful. Your relationship is beautiful. So I'm glad you agreed to do this.
Well, thank you.
This and I
Appreciate
wanted
that.
it earlier, but you know, things come in its own time, and it's coming when it was supposed to.
Sure.
So I know I was trying to get it before so we could hype before it came out, but now the book is out, and
Yeah.
I could talk to it better. Um, and like I say, with both these books, though there's something that joins both these books, and we ain't gonna say because we want them to buy this book. We want
Yes.
this book, but there's a
Yeah,
connection
yeah,
between the
yeah.
two books. So we're not gonna say right now.
Right, right.
But I am glad to see your creativity coming out this way. Like I say, we known each other as children, younger, what we say
Yeah,
our teens and
yeah,
our families were connected, and it's good. Like Belinda always says, it's good that we're still connected. So
sure,
that's a
sure.
good thing. Good stuff. So we've heard about, and the book is dedicated to Mama. I read that, and
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Um, but we've heard about Mama Bishop, Donnell, uh, Diana, and Belinda. So, and Adrian. So let's drop this before we go. Let's drop your daughters in it real quick.
Oh,
All
oh
right.
yeah.
So, and
Woo.
Erica is with Belinda, and I'm trying to get Erica to do some audio stuff for me. So
Yeah,
um, the audience may get a chance to um hear her, if not meet her. But
yeah.
um, give a couple of a quick blurb about the two girls.
Wow. Well, my little heartbeats, right? They big heartbeats now though. But started off with, of course, Crystal, her and I, and actually her Crystal and I, wow. Um, we actually I guess it was 8 months when I first actually left Maryland, Baltimore. So her and I, single mom, being together and everything, and just you always think, the Bible talks about every perfect gift comes from above. So I really feel as though, again, God doesn't do anything by accident. And even though
Right,
when you're going through it, you feel a certain kind of way, but in the long run, you have a tendency to see that it was all for a reason and that God doesn't make any mistakes.
right.
So I was so glad to, be her mother in a sense of her. And then, like you said earlier, creative, the talent. She's my dancer of the family.
Right,
She's a
right,
dancer of the family, very talented since very young, 5 and on up until now, adulthood. She just the gifting that God had given her. And she actually is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And just we laugh so much sometimes. We say a little Zelda sometimes. She got a lot of her auntie in her too, Belinda.
yeah,
We say y'all probably should have been mother daughter, but
right,
with that being said, if you ask Erica, she'll say no, you and Crystal, because she's the daughter, the younger, Crystal finds herself being the mother too of her, thinking she's the mother. And she's been doing that ever since she was younger.
right, right, right.
They're 7 years apart. But yeah, so just, thankful for her. Matter of fact, when I had my challenge and I went down, Crystal was actually, we call her our little evangelist. She was actually the one who got everybody together and started a prayer chain across the country
Yes, she
for
did.
everybody praying for me,
Right.
during that time. And I'm so thankful for her for that. So just love her. She's doing her thing. so we talk and encourage her in just her life. And then Erica, that's my singer. So I tell you, we're the artsy people, I guess. I went to Dunbar. I love to sing and
Yeah,
do
always a poet.
choir,
You got to
in
be a poet.
church. Yeah, in church, in the choir school. But I always tell everybody I pass the mantle down to Erica
Right,
because
right.
she is
She
very
is.
talented, and doing her thing right now, singing. And like you said, hopefully we'll get to, the audience may get to hear her in the future and just what she's doing. Matter of fact, I'm looking to we wanted to do it right before the pandemic, 2020, doing a sister to sister. I wanted to showcase it here in Maryland at a theater or something where, Crystal's dancing and Erica's singing. And
That would be
I've
wonderful.
had this in my mind to do every for some time now, even when I was living in Atlanta, because they both are very talented and gifted, and I just see a whole production with them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm very thankful. Eric and I were very close as well, and just like, they say sometimes, as you get older, a lot of times, you helping them to grow, but now as me being an adult, they've helped me to grow,
Good.
because they've looked out for me, they've encouraged me, and I really, really love them, appreciate them growing into beautiful young women. And I'm thankful to God for allowing me to be their mother and us be joined together.
Okay. So again, look at that cover. That's a nice cover. That is a really nice cover. All right. And
Thank you.
like I say, I want people to go out and read this. It's not really thick for us non-readers.
Very easy read. I've
Oh, it is.
already had my girlfriend, the one that I told you about earlier, about actually encouraging me to write the book.
Hmm.
Well, she got it last week and she texted me, very busy woman. She's in Atlanta, and I was surprised. She texted me back. She had already read the book from back to cover she said like within hours or so. So she said because it was such an easy read. She said she got to her kitchen counter and she couldn't put it down and
And
she
that's
just
what I
kept
did
reading
last night. I
and
started
she
flipping
kept
through.
reading and she kept reading. So I was glad to hear that,
And
that you
that's what I
guys,
was, like I said, I was
yeah,
just going to look at it, and I found myself leaning here. Both my monitors that went out there went black because I didn't touch the keyboard.
right.
I think, and we're gonna wind down, but I think it's such an easy read because you're talking the way that you and I are talking. Sometimes you read books and you got to find out, or well, what does that word mean? or or you
Yes,
set up this whole scenario.
sure.
It's you as if you're talking right through, and it's very
Yeah.
it
Belinda just said that to me today. Belinda
is.
said, and that was the goal of my publisher. She was telling me, she's like, Zelda, I wanted the way you write is like, yeah, I'm just sitting down having a conversation with you.
Yeah,
So I'm glad, and hopefully that will be, a very appeasing to all readers and could get and feel my heart and hear my heart and let people know that, hey, it's just a conversation, even just a conversation with our Heavenly Father,
right,
that He lets me know a long time ago, God told me not to make Him complicated. And it's a couple years, I'll never forget. It's like, and then 2020, he said, all I want you to do is follow my lead. Just follow my lead. So those are the two things that I stick with me. And I try not to make God complicated because he's not.
it's
He's
it's
not.
and it's weird you should say that. um I finished it last Friday. Spotlight was pastoring after a pandemic.
Mm,
I had my very own pastor, and I think I
wow.
sent you the link if you ever get a chance.
Yes, yes, yes.
My very own pastor, but three other pastors. And I think God doesn't change, but I think with the time now, God is doing a new thing.
Mm-hmm,
I think He is right now. He wants you to be uncomplicated with the word.
mm-hmm.
Um, Pay attention to the word. All
Sure.
of the side stuff that may have been there, which might have been a man thing, but I think He
Mm,
wants you to really
yeah,
concentrate on the
yeah.
word. And the word is
Mm-hmm.
not complicated. It's not long. It's just the word. So you said something that the pastors and pastoring after a pandemic said. And it's
Hmm.
really weird because your thing was on the quarantine and theirs was pastoring after the pandemic. So that
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
are
yeah.
sort of linked. But I
Right,
think God
right.
is now saying that the word is simple. It is the
Yeah,
word. It's not complicated. Don't
yes,
add nothing to
yes.
it. Um, it's not complicated.
Not
Okay, so
complicated.
um, we're 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 done. I think
Okay.
we're done. Answered all of my
Wow,
questions. We got a couple
wonderful.
more in there. Um, but I wanted to introduce uh, whoever the audience is going to be. Um, we're hoping that through this spotlight, that someone will go out and get this book. I'm
Yes.
not even going to say it's a shameless plug, but um, if someone is thinking about writing a book, this is it to me.
Hmm.
Just the way you did it. Just talk about your life, talk simply and out there. So if somebody is looking at this now and you're talking about writing a book, get this one, Beauty Beyond the Scars, um, and pattern it in your own life after the way this is written because it's very well written. There are a lot of things in here that I've stayed away from. There's some things that happen at the back of the book that saved you from doing a lot of stuff.
Yes,
But yeah, we want them to go out and get the book, and we're
yes,
going to tell them how. So
sure.
hopefully you got an adoring audience now. You can say bye to them.
Yes, I will. And what I'll do too is send you the link because it is going to be posted on the Amazon. We're doing a little bit with it, but we're going to be. But in the meantime, I have a link that I'll send to you to put with the video
The A
that
to Z,
people.
A to Z experience the way I bought it, or another one.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to
Okay,
do that. But if
wonderful.
it's
That
something
people
else, you
that they
send
don't
that to
even
me.
have to wait. They can do that, and I'll send
Yep.
them to it. And I would definitely appreciate the support and really I would appreciate constant prayer in this regards of myself and my husband, my family, and where God is leading me with this.
And
'Cause it is a new path. It's a new
that's what it's all about. Putting
yes,
when you put God there, He's going to put you there as well. So
yes. Well,
we're going to
thank
say
you,
good night for now,
thank you, and
or
I
good evening for
appreciate you,
now, whenever
brother.
it is. But again, Zelda, I love you, and I thank
I
you for
love you
coming on
too.
board. All right,
Thank you so much.
all right,
Appreciate you. Bye
all
bye
right.
now.
Thank you.
Bye.
So that was Zelda Johnson, and introducing you to her and her book, um, Beauty Beyond the Scars. Um, as usual, I talk to people that I enjoy talking with, even new people. In some of the spotlights that I've done, um, I enjoy talking with. Zelda is a little sister of sorts. Um, a quick history is I lived next to them here in Baltimore, and it was her mother, father, and her her sisters and her brothers that kind of adopted me. It's happened before, as you know, and that sometime I'll talk about my Brinkley family and connection. Some of you already know some of it, but anyway, back to that. Um, I've seen Zelda grow up from a young woman into a older woman. I know of her battles through life and medically, um, but I enjoyed doing this. It was enjoyable talking to her. She's a fantastic person, inside and out. Um, uh, Beauty Beyond the Scars is her first full book, um, and I'm going to provide a link that you can see or purchase that. Um, Her first writing was a chapter in this compilation called Life Interrupted. Um, and she has a chapter in that book, I think it's chapter 3, um, that you can purchase on Kindle and Amazon. Um, make sure you put in presented by Dean Heath, because there are a couple of life interrupters. Anyway, um, my Alexa wants to talk at the same time I do. But anyway, um, this has been uh, Beauty Beyond the Scars. I enjoyed doing it. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. Um, and if you wish to contact Zelda either for information or something that might fit into your church, for those who are not with VLF, or Women's Day or anything like that, um, if I don't provide contact information, just contact me, and I'll take care of that connection between you and her. So, again, thank you for viewing this spotlight. I enjoyed it. I hope you will. And I'll see you on Sunday.